Welcome everyone, I'm John McGuire, founder and director of the Kinesiology Institute, and I'm so thrilled that you're joining us today. I'm going to give you a lot of skills that are coming from our advanced kinesiology courses. I've been teaching this material for 42 years, and it's been so thrilling to hear the results my students are getting in their work, helping others to have optimum health, be pain-free, and because we're working with a holistic system, they're having better psychological and emotional well-being and health, as well as physical. We also get into sports performance. We've had people, one of our students is actually a professor of dance at Yale University, ballet, and she's finding her ballet students and practitioners, they're really doing well. So we're going to dive right into some techniques because I want to show you as much as I can. So have a pen and paper ready or be doing digital texting that you can cover some great techniques. And for you that are already in our courses, you'll start to see, oh yeah, that's how he does that, and puts it all together. See, this fall, we're going to have what's called an integration course. For those that have done all of our 4 advanced courses, they're going to learn how they can put it all together in a session. See, we have a psychological kinesiology course. I'll be demonstrating some techniques from that. In that course, it stands alone. All of our advanced courses stand alone. And we show you many practical skills that are life-changing, that people get immediate results with sometimes deep-seated stress conditions. Then we have our structural kinesiology. We have a live in-person class happening this fall, but I'll show you how you can do the online-only class as well. And in those courses, that's actually August 15th through the 25th, and some of you might even be already scheduled for that. We do it hands-on, in-person in Long Beach, California. And those are conditions, I'll demonstrate some again from today, where people often will have pains that were going on for 10, 15, 20 years finally go away. In fact, one of our students, she said she had gone to all these practitioners, and then in one session, she had a kinesiologist that totally got rid of her problem that nobody else was touching, literally. And then she decided, I want to study this. And formerly as a structural engineer doing building and bridge design, she took our certification programs, all 4 of them in the advanced session, and then developed a practice that has a 3-month waiting list. And she's thrilled how many people she's helping get profound results. Now we have our biochemical class. I'll be showing some skills from that today as well. And that course is where you get really into the gut issues for people, their diet, finding out heavy metals, candida, parasites, leaky gut, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. And we show you how you can find things even without labs, though we recommend if you have labs that can support it, and find out exactly what you do to clear the problem, both with supplementation, with diet, and with reflexes on the body that will activate energy flow. Then we have our energy course, some people's favorite, where we get into the subtle energies. Here's something you can write down. The field is the sole governing agent of matter. That was Albert Einstein that said that. The energy field is what governs our physical body. And that's why when you're doing energy medicine, which is what we're actually showing you, how to do energy medicine works with the field, that when you affect the energy field, it shifts things in the body, biochemically, psychologically, as well as structurally, to come into alignment. See, there's another text you might put down, write this, is that it's too much or too little energy, in other words, energy imbalances, that are at the core of all health issues. That was Chinese medicine's doctrine from thousands and thousands of years ago, but also a chiropractor, a guy who started chiropractic, D.D. Palmer, said that. He said, if chiropractors just understood it's all about energy, we do structural alignments, but that's to balance energy. And when energy's balanced, symptoms go away naturally in most cases. Now, there's times where a person needs surgery or they may need intervention, say pharmacology, can often save lives. So we don't say this is a replacement for conventional Western medicine, but they are often missing the boat because they're not finding things we call subclinical through muscle testing. I'll give you a moment of my background. I was a yoga instructor and teaching meditation in my early parts of my career. One of my students, after a yoga class, who was a chiropractor, came up to me and said, "John, I want to show you something here. Put your arm out and meet my pressure. Hold it again as I push." He's pushing on my arm. And he says, "Okay, watch this." And he does this little thing on my arm, and my arm totally goes weak. And then he brings the energy back, and it's strong. And I said, "Wow, that's interesting." He says, "Yeah, I was blocking your energy." See, our body has all these energy fields, or acupuncture meridians, the primary field of the fields, and I was interrupting the flow of energy. And when your arm tests weak, it's showing there's energy blockage. So what I'm doing is I'm restoring energy flow when I go in a certain direction. And when energy flows, then that's what creates health. So what we're doing is we're finding what creates energy blockage. And I'll be demonstrating that in a moment so you can see how you can do that. Muscle testing can also help find what's optimum nutrition for people, foods they should avoid, foods that they should eat, as well as supplements that would be good for them. You can also use it for psychological factors. There's a whole thing called energy psychology. That is what we teach in our psychological course. And there's so many practical skills, but muscle testing is at the source, the core of it. Now, what does muscle testing do? It accesses your innate intelligence, your body's ability to know exactly what to do to keep itself in health. We have a blueprint for optimum health. When there's an interruption or a stressor keeping us from being at our peak health, that's what we can find out through muscle testing. Now let's do one little thing here I often like to begin with, is to turn your head from right to left. And I'm going to give you a little technique you can do right here. What we're going to do is we're going to take over, my neck's a little stiff on this side, so let's see what happens, see if it's true for you. You take over the rolled over part of your ear and you're going to pull it on both sides. You're going to pull the ears up and away like you're stretching your ears out and unroll that. In Chinese medicine, they know that the ears act as antennae for the acupuncture meridian system. This is the channels throughout the body that power the organs, the cells, your brain, and they're related to your emotions. Everything is powered by this bioelectrical energy, and we want our energy flowing and being at a peak state. So by doing this, you're getting energy flow. Now it also is affecting nerve endings going down into the neck. So let's see what happens after you do that several times. So turn your head again and see if it's, whoa, much better on that range of motion. So see if that happened for you. So that's just an easy thing you can do. And I've even had students of mine, one guy was a medical doctor in an emergency room, and he says, "Wow, that works great. People come in with locked up necks, I unroll their ears, and they go, 'Thanks, doc, I'm good.'" All right, so we're going to go into many techniques, but first I'm going to bring up Emma, who's here in the studio, and we're going to show some techniques and how it works. So come on down, Emma. How you doing today?
I'm good.
Great. So I'm going to demonstrate muscle testing as she comes in here. So I want, first, your shoulder okay, that I shouldn't do any testing? So now I'm going to put light, gradual increasing pressure, and you meet my pressure. So it's not a strength test. It's a monitor where energy's flowing and when it's not. So as she meets my pressure, and I push in here like that. Now, if she says a name that isn't her own, that might be someone's somewhat stressful to adopt the identity of, if it's stressing her, the arm will go off. So say, "My name is Donald Trump."
My name is Donald Trump.
And hold. Okay. Your body says definitely not. Okay. "My name is Emma."
My name is Emma.
And it's strong. Now, you always want to gauge what's an on and what's an off for a person. And in this case, now I know how we can determine where energy is flowing and where it's blocked. Now, what I do is I touch her, which we call circuit locating, also known as therapy localization. And I'm touching a specific spot on here. This right here, for you that have done my classes, We cover this in our, particularly our fundamentals class. It's for the element in Chinese medicine known as wood. So as I push there, it's strong. Now I'm going to touch another spot on the cranium here that is related to the fire element and the meridians that are there. Hold as I push. So that family of meridians, we'll talk about that later, is fine. Now I'm going behind her ear on another spot on her cranium, and I'm going to push here and hold. Oh, it goes weak. Now what that means is we've got energy blockage in the earth element house. So I'm going to now ask her body, it'll go strong when I hit the right meridian. So I'm going to say stomach and push again. It didn't change. Now I'm looking for the one that changes to strong. Now the other meridian in the stomach, or in the earth element, is spleen. Oh, and that goes strong. So now I know we have the spleen meridian. Every muscle in your body is associated with an acupuncture meridian and an organ. The muscle related to spleen meridian is the latissimus dorsi. So let me just see something here. I can look at her posture, and this side, you'll see this side is a little higher on the right. Now that is related to, and we teach this in our structural class, how you can look at somebody's posture and know exactly what muscles are out. And so this, I'm going to have her with the arm straight, I'm going to pull it straight out and hold as I do so. Now, you see what happens there? That is the pancreas organ related to the spleen meridian associated with that. And so you have that muscle switched off. Now these points on the head find the under energy. Now there's a way we can find the over energy, and that is by having you tug up on your belly button there. And I'm going to take a strong muscle and see what happens. I'm looking for a weak response to show me where over energy is. Remember I said we want to balance energy. So she's pulling up. That's fine. Now we'll go over to this angle. That's the earth. She's fine there. Now we'll go down to metal. She's pushing down to the left. She pushes down to the right. Now we've got water element. And now she's pushing up to the right, and she has a weakness. Now that's saying we have a deficiency in the wood element. That is gallbladder and liver. Actually, it's an excess. Gallbladder and liver has too much energy, okay? Now what we can do is, again, I can pull this out, and I'm going to show you how this looks here. I'm pulling straight out, hold. Okay, now what I can do is I can have her separate her feet 18 inches when the muscle goes weak, and then it remembers we're testing the latissimus dorsi that is weak, or we'll call it switched off. And I'm going to see, well, what does it want? So let's see what we can do here. So I'm going to have you hold that in and get ready to separate your feet and hold as, yeah. And so she's got the switched off muscle in circuit. Now what happens then is every muscle in her body will be switched off, saying, yep, I'm the latissimus dorsi. Hold as I push. See, I can go at this angle, hold as I push, any muscle. So now it makes it easier for me, especially to show it to you, that I now am going to touch areas on my fingers and see what goes strong. This is touching the index finger, the pad to the thumb pad, and let's see if it goes strong. It does. What that tells me, and write this down, she needs structural work. That means massage of reflexes. We'll call them Chapman's reflexes, also known as neurolymphatics. Those are switches that activate energy flow to the muscle and the related organ, as well as the meridian. And those are ones we'll demonstrate in a moment. Next, we go to the middle finger. This is nutrition. So it's saying we need some nutritional intervention. And I know, Rochelle, you're going into that whole nutrition realm. We'll dive into that next. Now, this is emotional. So if there's an emotional stress affecting that meridian, that organ, that muscle, it'll switch on when I touch this. So thumb to the ring finger. That's, again, emotional. It didn't change. See, we're only looking for what brings energy and will make the weak muscle strong. Now, this would be meridian points or other factors we cover in our energy course. So I touch the little finger now with the thumb, and it didn't change. So she needs the structural work and nutritional. Before we balance the structural, let's check what type of nutrition. So what I do, these are the three main categories. You can write this down. Diet addition. So I'm going to see if that makes it strong. Diet addition. It didn't. Diet deletion. It did. So in other words, something she might be eating is affecting the energy flow and blocking it, which is really common. See, most people's diet is, let's just say, needing improvement. Now, she's really into health, right? What, do you have any foods you might suspect could be causing a problem?
Breads.
Bread.
Gluten.
Okay, breads with gluten. You love bread,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she has a bread addiction. In fact, we're going to be referring her to Wheataholics Anonymous. She loves bread. And well, let's see what happens. So I asked the person when you're doing a session, are there certain foods you eat you gotta have? So I'm going to say delete bread. Look what happens. It goes strong. See, I'm speaking to her innate intelligence. And that eliminates the guesswork. I had a nurse practitioner that studied with me, and then she dropped her job in the hospital and in the clinic doing that work because she said, I'm always doing the best I can an educated guess, and I'm looking at labs and all that, which is still good. But now when I do muscle testing, I can find out what their body is saying specifically. So it's saying delete wheat. Any other foods you might suspect?
Maybe pasta.
Okay, well, delete pasta. Yes, it's saying delete pasta, which is also wheat. Well, let's try delete gluten-free pasta. No. See, delete gluten pasta. There you go. All right, so that's where her body is showing I've got challenges there. So this is affecting particularly the pancreas, which regulates your blood sugar with insulin release. So a lot of people, in fact, we find the most common muscle weak on people is the one that I just showed on her. For everybody, it's so common that people have sugar handling problems. So we found that. Now we can also say supplement addition, and it said no. So it's mainly clearing that, because sometimes people, you balance them and they keep coming out of balance because of, write these three words down: living, eating, and thinking. So their lifestyle often, not getting enough sleep, not doing proper exercise. Then you've got your eating, of course, we just talked about the foods they're eating or the foods they should be eating and they're not. And then the thinking, which is probably the most important of all. People thinking like anxiety, worrying, that affects the spleen meridian. So often we find that you put it from a holistic perspective, that's why we got 4 advanced courses. From a holistic perspective, you want to look at all aspects. See, some systems, like I have friends that they only do energy work, and that's great, but if you're not clearing up the toxins a person's eating or their psychological states they haven't dealt with, you only could go so far. Same with psychology. There's people like Julia Ross. She wrote a book called The Mood Cure. Now, in The Mood Cure, she as a psychologist found that often her clients got better results cleaning up their diet than just getting counseling. And I'm all for counseling, and talk therapy sorts things out in your life. It's really good. You all ought to be doing that. But if that's all you're doing, it's like you're mowing the lawn or the weeds, but you're not pulling out the roots. And the roots are energetic in the field. Remember, the field is the sole governing agent of matter, Einstein's quote. So now let's go back and see what else we find on how to clear this for her. Okay? So there's a point on the body right here that is a reflex to switch on the lats. Now at this point you can bring your legs back together, and I'll show this here. This point right here is one that would switch on the lats, latissimus dorsi. Now watch this. We have this muscle, we haven't balanced it yet, it's weak. Now watch what happens when she touches that point. She's now adding energy to the switch, and see what happens? Totally strong. You see how strong that is? It's like, no way can I budge her. Now there's, we already saw the food factor. There's another reflex on the head. I'll touch it right here above her ear. Let's see if that helps. That's another energy switch, and we've got those two that we can work. Now we could also work on the meridian itself. I'm going to touch on the side of her body. That's the end of the meridian, and it says, ooh, I like that. So these are what we mainly do. When a muscle's weak and we want to switch it on, and we learn this in our fundamentals, AK Fundamentals course, that's also available online as well as in person. You can rub the neurolymphatic, which I'm going to rub that spot on her. She could rub it as well. Is that tender at all in there?
Very.
Very, okay. Now you work that point,
Okay.
and it's on the left side because that's where your pancreas and spleen are, even though the muscle's on the right. But in the back, they are on the same side, both right and left. So I'm going to get the point in the back. How's the point in the back?
Tender as well.
Tender as well, okay? Now with this hand, why don't you touch right up here?
Okay.
And she's now touching what's called the neurovascular point. So we're increasing the lymph flow as well as the blood flow to both the muscle and the related organ. So I did study with Goodhart, who was the founder of all this. It was amazing how I learned from the master. It's like studying physics from Albert Einstein. And so he was telling how he discovered all this work. And so he developed a whole group of particularly chiropractors that followed him around. And one man that was in the original group, that's the only one still alive, Sheldon Deal. We have his programs in our courses online. But he is my mentor, and I see him quite often. About every month or two I go over. And he's teaching me stuff that I pass on to you. So I've gotten the best of the best instructors over the last 42 years that I pass on. Okay, let's do one thing. We're going to run the meridian, and that's very simple. You just take it from the beginning to the end. It's right on the inside of the big toe, goes up and down here. Now we did find there was also a point on her body that, remember, it was over energy, and you energy students, people in my energy class will know this. We teach you how you can find an acupressure point that will balance the meridian as well as the whole body by touching a specific point on the under energy meridian, spleen in her case, that's of the element of the over energy. So I'm going to go to that point right now and touch it down here on her foot. So we're adding all the essential ingredients to keep this muscle balanced and switched on. So take 3 deep breaths. Okay, now let's see what we've got. So I'm going to check that muscle again. Hold as I pull out. Very strong. And now I'll check the point here that was showing weak. That's strong. And then why don't we tug around the navel? Remember, you were going up to the right. And that's strong. So we've energetically balanced her. Now let's look a little deeper. There's another thing we can do where we can put the arms at various angles. It's another thing that hardly anyone I've ever seen teaches this, but I learned it from way back in the 80s. A guy that was a brilliant one, the guy that came up the hand modes, Alan Beardall. He discovered, remember there's that drawing of Da Vinci with the arms at different angles. He also has the leg out, and that's like, Da Vinci was like the original kinesiologist, knowing all this stuff intuitively, that all that has a place. Like when we put things in circuit, the legs go out. The angles, this is nutrition and this is structure. Then there's also, when the arms are up like this, if you get a weak muscle, it's related to psychological and emotional issues in their overall being systemically. In fact, that's another key here. You want to think systemically first, and then go into specific areas. So we're going to look at her systemically, and then we're going to zero in on various areas she may have had injuries. Okay, and all this is shown in the advanced courses. So we're going to go in a angle. Let's have her arms at this angle. So she's going out at this angle here. Let's see what happens. So at this angle, I'm going to test a muscle here and see if it goes weak. I know it's strong. We tested it earlier, and see what happens. Hold as I push. Oh, it goes totally weak. This muscle, so just put your arms back at your side. See, it's strong. When she goes at this angle, we're asking our body, how's your nutrition doing? And it's, oh, we kind of had a suspect of that before, which was, when we did the second mode, it said, yep, diet deletion. But let's go further then. While we're at it here, we already know we need diet deletion, which strengthens that. Say diet deletion goes strong. Now I can also say other factors. In our biochemical course, we cover things like parasites, didn't change. Candida, didn't change. Heavy metals. Oh, wait a minute, heavy metals. Oh, we got some heavy metals maybe there. So now we'll go to small intestine bacterial overgrowth. Oh, that's showing up. Let's check leaky gut. Leaky gut, that's showing up. Now, see, that gives you immediate information of what to further look at. So let's see. Let's go to leaky gut. In fact, here's one thing you can do. This is another great mode. We use this all the time in our classes. This is Beardall's priority mode. When you take the thumb, you touch it with the middle finger right in that middle joint. If it changes, that means it's a priority. So we're going to go first and see leaky gut. We'll go back to this angle. Okay, now she's in that mode. Remember, it's weak. Leaky gut goes hold. Leaky gut goes strong. Now I'm going to touch here and see if it changes. Hold, and it does. So that's saying a priority is to do clear the leaky gut. Here's another thing to know in kinesiology. 80% of what you find on somebody is a compensation. If you work on the compensations, you're often wasting time because the body wants to be fixed in a specific sequence and order, and if you don't follow that sequence or order, it's like going on the freeway and there's a massive traffic jam and you say, oh, I just got to move the car in front of me. Well, what about the car that's at the very beginning of the traffic jam? They move that out, maybe it's stalled or accident, they clear that away, and then all the traffic moves. So we want to work on priorities. So now we got leaky gut. Watch this. It's in our biochemical course. I'm going to take a packet of sugar and throw the pack of sugar on her body. I'm going to test a muscle, and it goes weak. That's saying, oh, the body is zapped by that. Now I'm going to check that quadricep. That muscle, by the way, is related to the small intestine. See what happens there? That goes weak. Now I wait about 10 seconds. Now, when sugar's on your body, it's at least for the moment, oh, that's an energy drain. In fact, often we do things that are energy draining, but our reserves are saying, well, let's pull from our reserves and we'll bring that energy back. It's a little stressful, but we can bring it back up. Watch what happens. Hold as I push. The arm says, good, I got enough strength. If you have leaky gut though, the muscle related to the small intestine, that's where leaky gut occurs, doesn't strengthen. So let's see what happens. If her leg goes strong, we know she doesn't have it. Behold, oh, it stays weak. So that's the sign of leaky gut. Well, what we can do is we can put this in circuit. So kind of giving you a flow. If I often like to put things in circuit so I don't have to keep testing her leg with the sugar on her body, I can do this. In fact, you'll see what I'm going to do right here. As soon as I do this and it goes weak, I take her feet, bring them 18 inches apart. Now, mechanistically, that's, I think it's called the Ruffini end organs, these nerves that then transmit whatever was happening at the same time as we move the legs up to the brain, saying we have sugar on the body and a quadricep weak. So therefore, every muscle remembers that. So every muscle's remembering that. And now I can use the arm. The arms are always easier. And I can use the arm at any angle. Now, remember these modes? I use them all the time. And in our integration course, for you that do all the advanced courses and you want to come in the fall, we're going to have it live in Long Beach, California, as well as online for you that can't make it, because we got students from 93 countries as part of our institute. So now I go back and I'm going to check the finger modes here. So this is saying, hold, structural, it went strong. Hold, nutrition, it went strong. Now emotion. Didn't go strong. And emotion can be a factor in anything, but it's not in hers. And then I go the acupuncture energy reflexes, didn't change. So now again, I know I'm going with structural and nutritional. Well, let's go back to nutrition. Remember we tested about was gluten, particularly bread and pasta, right? We have a kit, it's called a bioenergetic test kit, that has the energy signature of factors in these vials. I'll show you here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, remember when anything changes, that's a sign we need to pay attention there. So she's got a weak muscle. I'm putting the energetic signature. There's not actual wheat in here, but I'm going to put it on her body and see if the body responds to a change. Hold as I push, and it changes. Now I've got gluten here as well. Let's try gluten, and exactly, it's changing. So now we know eliminating that is what we're going to best for her for right now until we get this leaky gut fixed. Now we can also check nutritionals. The amino acid that helps repair the junctions, the tight junctions in the intestines that get open to create leaky gut is L-glutamine. So I'm going to put this on her body. Now everything has a frequency. So the frequency in this is what's going to then change. Hold as I push, and there it is. See how that's strong? Watch this. Weak, strong, strong, strong. As soon as I get it off of her biofield, it goes weak. Now, if you want, there's ways to test the amount too. This would be how many she needs per day. So let's start with 1. When it goes weak, okay, 2, that's just 1 too many. She's strong there. Let's go to 3. Strong there. Let's go to 4. Okay, weak. So it's saying 3 per day. That would be the key for that. And we could check other factors too. Let's go to the structural. Now here's how I check structure. I can touch an energy switch for various organs, and whenever I touch one of those, remember the neurolymphatics? She will go strong if her body wants that. It's like plugging 2 wires together and the light bulb goes on. So I'm checking now, I'm going to touch the small intestine neurolymphatics, and she goes strong. Let me check large intestine. Those are down here. She goes strong. So I now know what to work with her. And let's check liver. Okay, touch right on the under the breast where the breast meets the chest wall, and she's touching liver. Great, now we got that. Well, let's check a few others. Let me check, this would be kidneys. It's 1 inch up and out from the umbilicus. No. Adrenals. No. Just for other eliminatory organs, I could check lung reflexes. No. Let's check brain. No. So we now know we need liver, large intestine, and small intestine as part of the treatment. Okay? And then we got the L-glutamine. Let's check if there's any other supplements here, just for interest. Pull up some chlorella caps, because that could affect heavy metals. Ooh, and she likes those, so we'll have to check those later for amounts. Here's something that supports the liver. It's NAC. So let's see if N-acetylcysteine helps. Yes. Now you might be thinking, well, there could be a lot of supplements. Remember the priority mode? If a supplement is a priority, it will change, go from strong to weak in this case, when I touch the priority mode. Let's see what happens. Oh, and it did. So other support. Now, let's check. Maybe there's some meridian points. I'm going to touch, and we cover this in my AK fundamentals, the tonification points. Those are the ones that boost the energy in those meridians. So I'm going to go to liver 8. That's a really important point. Remember that, it's on the inside of the knee. So I touch liver 8. Let's see what happens. Hold. Oh, there it is. Now I'm right on liver 8, inside the knee where the tibia meets the femur. That's good. Now let's touch small intestine 3. That's right out here. It's called the karate chop point for any of you that know that discipline. That's strong. Okay, now let's check large intestine 11. That's on the crease of the elbow right here on the back of the hand, on the thumb side. Hold. That goes strong. So now we know what to treat her with. And so let's just do some treatment now. So, and that doesn't take too long. I'm going to have you do, let's start with the liver 8. Breathe deeply. Now, when you breathe deeply as you work on a point, it transfers energy more into that person. Now we'll go to our small intestine 3, breathing in deeply. And then we got the large intestine 11 on the crease of the elbow. Breathing here. And
that's tender.
That's tender, okay? That is, the greater the tenderness, the greater the extent of the blockage. Okay, so now let's work some of these points. Let's have you go back and work on that liver reflex up there. I'll work on the colon reflexes. And I'm going to work the small intestine reflexes. Now, in fact, why don't you do these? And you guys can work on your own. Put your hands, this is a big one for a lot of people, right on the rib cartilage that slopes down. You're going to get on the underneath side and be going, pushing up. And that is often, almost everybody needs that. And you just roll, kind of going back and forth like that. Okay, so get in there and do that. And let's see what we got. And now I'm doing the back reflexes. All these muscles do have reflexes in the back. We already worked the pancreas in the back, but now I'm also getting the liver and the large intestine points. Okay, let's see what happens now. And let's go back, legs back together. Now we're going to check the leaky gut factor. So let's put this here. And again, it takes about 10 seconds. Hold. She's weak on the sugar. She's weak on here. Let's see if that clears up. So and then I'm going to show a little bit on the screen of some of the advanced courses. We have a sale going on right now for a very limited time. We're taking $1,000 off the advanced courses. And we've had people paying the full amount and getting fabulous results. So this is a really good opportunity if you want to jump in there. I know Alana, you've already jumped in on the biochemical course. So if you're thinking about it, you have lifetime access. If you say, well, I won't be able to start until the fall. Well, you'll pay $1,000 more in the fall, which is fine. It's worth it. But if you want to save $1,000, jump in now for any of those courses. Okay, so let's see what happens now. After 10 seconds or so, that's strong. Let's see if this got strong. Whoa, it did. So we're making progress on the leaky gut, but there's still, some things we found. Like, let's just check her on bread. You love bread. Mm-hmm. I know, she's addicted to it, right?
Right.
You got to have it every day.
Yeah.
If something you got to have every day, like Starbucks, they got a great group of addicts. That's keeping their business afloat. Now what I can do is I can put this, in fact, we'll just put it right on the small intestine here and see what happens. Bingo. Now here's another interesting thing. We cover this in the biochemical course, one of my favorite courses. And we can take a magnet. Now a magnet, let's just take that off her belly. This is how I can find out if someone has an addiction. In fact, let's do this one so you can see it a little better from the camera angle. Now when I put a green dot on the muscle, it goes weak, saying, yep, we're taking energy out of the muscle, it tests weak. If you're addicted to something, when you put it on the body, it should switch off. And I put the green dot back on here and look what happens. It doesn't switch off. That's saying you're addicted to this. I suppose you'd rather not go to addiction meetings for wheataholics, right?
I think so.
Well, here's an interesting thing. You can do a temporal tapping, and we're going to tap, and you can do this for anything you're addicted to. We'll start with the left side. So on the left side, right over your temple, you're going to tap and say, I do fine without wheat. I do fine without wheat. I do fine without wheat. Okay?
I do fine without wheat.
And whatever you've got, tap in yours.
I do fine without wheat.
It could be a behavior too.
Fine without wheat.
And alcohol, drugs, whatever. Like checking your cell phone. A lot of us have that addiction. I do fine without checking my cell phone. And then on the right side, you're going to tap in, I no longer have to have wheat.
Okay. I no longer have to have wheat.
I no longer have to have, in her case, or I no longer have to check my cell phone compulsively, whatever your compulsive behavior is. Okay? Now, let's see what happens. I'm going to put the wheat back on her body, and, okay, hold. Okay, now she's actually testing weak on it, which she should. And then that's saying, the body's now saying, okay, I'm not good on the wheat. And do you feel any shift from what we did about you're thinking about having wheat? Does it feel any different?
It's like, oh, I don't have to have it today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That I often see that, and I've helped people, addicts of all sorts, be able to clear that. So interesting. So that's another piece of the jigsaw puzzle, as Sheldon Deal says. So we're going to take a little look at some of the courses, the advanced courses. They're going to answer questions. Then I've got another thing to show you from the structural course and the psychological course. So hang in there. Here we go. I'm going to go over to my screen share now and show you some things. So with our advanced courses, I sent you, we'll start with the biochemical. I sent you an email. This is not available on our site. It's only for you guys that showing up today that you can get these discounts. So you have to look at the link in your emails. And here's the first one. You've got a great video here you can watch that gives you another like hour or so of information. So do watch that. But also over here, let me show you here. Yeah, so watch that video. And then here you'll see you can go at your own pace, online program, lifetime access. I've had people that studied this 10 years ago and they keep coming back and refining their skills. You could do a 3-month payment plan. All the major ways of paying are available. And you get 24 in-depth online classes showing you techniques that you can basically, again, watch as many times as you like. There's great procedural manuals, probably over 250 to 300 pages of manuals. Get your questions answered on our support websites like we're doing right now. You'll get those. And you get a certificate of completion. So for you, like Rochelle, that you want to have credentials, you can have that on the wall showing people you really know what you're doing. Okay? There's so many things you're going to learn. Just do this, go to this on your own and you'll see this. Okay, so it's a limited time here available on this. So we recommend you take advantage of it now because we're not repeating this. This is like, there's so much value in this. This should be $5,000, what value you have, but you're really able to get great results using this. Okay, so let's go over and we're going to see the psychological. And we just had our psychological certification program, which I'll tell you about in a moment, that you can get fully certified. But this here, again, it's just limited time. Watch this first class. It's the entire first class. You'll learn some great stress release techniques there. And again, there's 24 video classes, plus we break out classes to show specific techniques within it. And you have great skills, about 21 different skills, of which many of them are actually what people do as the sole part of their practice. Like people that do, say, emotional freedom technique. We show you how to do it faster. There's things like, we have the affirmation technique, a lot of things from John Diamond, as well as other things from the guy that created thought field therapy of the tapping techniques. So there's so many valuable techniques in here. I do things from Tony Robbins. I've been working with him, been part of his faculty for 30 years now, so I give you a lot of great things. And David Hawkins' work to raise consciousness. If you've read Power versus Force, we dive into that. It's a really transformational course. In fact, I like what Tracy Elliott said here. She said, the psychological kinesiology certification program has been the best thing in my life since the birth of my son. I was feeling old and used up, and now I feel like the best is yet to come. I'm so grateful for this amazing course. Okay, let's go over and let's look at another one here, the energy course. This one is where we get into like things that I was showing with her, finding acupressure points. It's great for pain relief. Okay, and here we also have things we get into like the in-depth understanding of Chinese medicine in a practical way, so you know what to do when. Also balancing the 14 meridians. I did some of that on her. We show you that. We also get into chakras and understanding the auric field, where you can clear pain from someone by working in the field. I mentioned that. And then balancing the figure 8 energy flows. One of our students, by the way, her husband was scheduled for surgery, trigger finger, and she did the figure 8 energy flows on him, totally cured it, and he never needed the surgery. I've seen that with frozen shoulder. A lot of things clear up. And so you get a really comprehensive set of skills in this course. Now, if we go here, the structural course, we do have a hands-on certification in that coming up in the fall. Well, actually, again, August. But for you that just want to get the online course, we just had Joel, if you're watching, I know you just signed up for this. And in this course, you get some really great skills. These are a lot from Goodhart, straight from Goodhart that I learned from him. So many techniques. And I'm demonstrating injury recall in just a moment, so stick around for that. But these techniques are transformational. Clearing the general adrenal factor. A lot of people have adrenal depletion. It's like that's the pandemic going around now. But so many techniques, and I've worked on a lot of these with athletes. I mentioned the woman who works with ballet dancers. It's very practical stuff. And here's what I do, is I make stuff easy. So what I'm doing, I'm taking my, I actually have been studying this for about 45 years. I take 45 years of in-depth training. In fact, I study more now than I did back then. I spend over $15,000 a year on my own studies so I can bring you the best of the best. But here's what I saw. A lot of kinesiologies out there are really complicated. In fact, the more I studied, this is getting more and more and more complicated. Well, fortunately, I'm a mentor of Dr. Sheldon Deal. He's my mentor, I mean. And he brought, for that same reason, right on the beginning, he said, this is just too daunting. So he developed shortcuts that I'm showing you, like the one about finding the points on her head and finding the meridian point, finding the under energy. I used to teach Touch for Health. In fact, I was the program director of Touch for Health. I brought it as the first one to train Touch for Health, bringing it to Italy and Russia, taught it all over Canada, many times in Vancouver, Toronto, also taught all over the United States, Mexico. I taught in 17 countries. And what I was seeing is people were saying it takes too long. So a lot of what I showed you on her, you get it right away. I can often get more results in 20 minutes than other people can do in 2 hours. And that's what I teach you. I'm showing you how I can be your guide to finding things out fast. And so that's what makes the difference, is when you can find, often in 5 minutes, I've seen students of mine as well as myself find out a factor on somebody that nobody else, and they were sometimes spending thousands of dollars. I had one woman came to my class, had spent $4,000 trying to solve her knee problem. And in 4 minutes, we figured out what it was and how to fix it. And she told me it never came back. You hear that all the time with this work. Because again, we're using muscle testing to find out what's at the source rather than the symptom of a person's health challenge. So you treat the source, not the symptom. And basically it comes down to you balance energy and it goes away on its own. Remembering it's a holistic system. So sometimes it's clearing emotional stress. Other times it's clearing a dietary factor. You know, and that's true for me. There was a lot of food I was eating. I was having really debilitating pain. I said, I got to test my own self, and found a lot of foods that normally would be thought of as healthy, I was not healthy on. So you got to think the holistic triangle. Goodhart called it structure, chemistry, emotion, with it all being innervated by energy. Because it's all energy. Everything's energy and frequency of vibration. Some of it's denser, like the physical body, but it's just basically slowed down energy in a form that we can feel and touch. But so much, I taught at Tony Robbins' event with Carolyn Mace, and she said 98% of us is energy. And all these things like we cover in the energy course, like the chakras, they affect everything. Hormonal system, the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body. So you always want to think holistically and apply what will work. So I'll see, is Emma around in the studio? I can bring her back and we can do some more work and see what's happening. Because I know you said you had some things going on with your knees. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. There's a technique called injury recall technique. And this is my one instructor, Wally Schmidt, who was the other like amazing guy I studied with along with Goodhart, who is probably one of the most knowledgeable of all kinesiologists. He said this is the most important thing to do with people and generally the first thing to do. Now what I'm going to show you, and this is going more in depth in our structural course. So I'm going to have you put your head back like that, okay? And she's strong. So now I'm going to touch areas of her body while she does that. Just put it back now again. Okay, I'm touching the ankle, I'm touching the knee, okay, and this ankle and the right knee. So the knees are showing a challenge, and I could just screen through to see if there's any other, particularly joints. I can go in the back here. Okay, so now she can relax the head. You have a stress in the knees that could be an injury or some factor that we need to clear. Any remembrance of anything
On my left knee, I got kicked in the left knee, and then I had like a scooter accident on the right knee, which was a few years ago.
Okay. Well, one of the things that injury recall technique does is it helps overall body flexibility. It's a really simple technique, so watch this. First, let's just screen how far out she can go here. Tell me when you feel the stretch.
Right there.
Okay, right there. So she's out, like pointing straight at my plant. So we'll look and see later how we go, if it improves that. Now what she does then is she's going to touch the knee. Just put your hands on the knee there, maybe even both of them, so you cover that whole area. Now what this is doing is it's sending a signal to the brain and putting it on the biocomputer screen. We are now clearing the energy in the neck by toggling it that clears the energy blockage in the knee. So all I have to do is lift her knee and toggle it where the occiput is toggling on the top neck bone known as the atlas. Now in addition, while she's doing that, I can work on the talus joint, the mortise joint that is at the talus. So I'm just pulling down, the talus is the ankle bone right here. This is the ankle joint called the mortise joint. Okay, now let's take the hand away for a second and now touch the knee again and arch the head back. Now it's clear. Let's do the other knee now. Let's have you bring this up and both hands on that so we're really covering it well. And again, I do the same correction. Simple, just toggling back and forth here. Just about 6 or 8 times. Then I can do the mortise joint and I'm just pulling it, or you can even toggle it like this, where I'm just gonna put my hands like this, or just pull it, lengthen it. It's a podiatrist, by the way, that developed this. Okay, bring the hands, well actually keep the hands there for a second. I'm gonna tap this in. This temporal tapping locks things in, just like we did the addictions on her. Okay, and now let's have you touch the other knee, bring that up, so we'll lock that one in too. And, okay, so let's go back to this knee. We know we cleared the left one. Touch the right knee now. And then I'll just use an arm here. So arch the head back. If it's strong, we show we cleared it. Okay, so now let's see what happens. I'm going to look on the overhead camera. I'm going to bring the leg out. Tell me when you feel the stretch. Oh, wow.
Right there.
Right there. Okay, before it was here. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, before it was here, and now, look at that. So what it does is it gives you more energy flowing where it was originally blocked. So people find, particularly athletes, they can perform better, they don't re-injure it, and they're more flexible. So that's a great factor. Well, let's do one more. We're going to touch on the emotional. So you got any emotional stress and anything going on in your life? I know it didn't come up in the modes, but...
Just family-related stuff.
Family-related stuff. Okay, so let's have you think about it for a moment. And then when if your arm goes weak, separate your feet. So just get in to see how you get in touch with how you feel about that. Okay, got it? All right. So let's see what happens now. don't think about it. But see, that way they don't have to keep dwelling on the problem. This is called the beginning and end points. It's a tapping technique, more abbreviated and shortcut from emotional freedom technique, which is a shotgun approach, tap everything. They don't do muscle testing in that, but we show you how to do it quicker and faster. So what we're going to do is I'm going to touch points on her face and see which makes it go strong. So that it's weak. I touch stomach 1 right under the eye, stays weak. I touch gallbladder 1, it goes strong. Just to see if other ones would help. Triple warmer doesn't help. Okay, I go to bladder 1, that doesn't help. Large intestine. You don't have to test further ones, but see, they're all not helping. But when I get to this point, gallbladder 1, which is right off the eye, that's where we finally see that's going to be the point. Okay, so have you tap, and you can try gallbladder on your own, but any emotional upset, usually the most common one is stomach. Breathe deeply and focus on that upset. Oh, by the way, before we do that, what would you say the stress was if you really got in touch with it on a scale of 10 being most, 1 is no stress at all?
8.
An 8,
yeah.
Okay? So let's have you tap now. And you guys do this too. Just think of any stressor. You might find the stomach is the most common one again that works. And you could tap there and then go outside your eye and up on the brow. Those are 3 that are common. But as you breathe deeply and tap there, just notice whatever's there. Notice what thoughts are there. Notice the emotion that's there. And what emotion would you say would be the predominant one?
Anger.
Anger. Okay, which relates to gallbladder in Chinese medicine, is anger is the emotion on gallbladder. So that makes sense that would be the point she'd tap. Now, think of where the body sensations are. Focus on that. But as you're tapping, here's how this works. When you're tapping, you're creating energy flow where there formerly was blockage. Remember, the whole context of everything we're doing is getting energy flow and then finding things that keep us from having energy. That's what we're up to here, okay? So let's see, bring your feet back together. Think about that again and just see. Hold. It's now strong, meaning we got energy flow where before it was blocked. Any shift on how you feel about it now?
Yeah, I just see it as something that's not as important. Like, it's not an upset. It's like,
no big
it'll
deal.
Pass. Yeah, it'll pass.
Yeah, got it. Which makes it feel better, right?
Yeah.
So you were at 8 before. Where would you say you were now?
A 2.
A 2,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, there's some annoyance there, but it's not interrupting my day, okay? Well, let's have you stand back up after we did all that and just let us know how you feel. So how do you feel after what we've done so far?
I feel really energized, especially after the first correction. And then now I'm not worried about anything.
Not worried. So that emotional clearing. And you'll probably notice maybe a shift even when you're walking or running with your knees.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and you'll get this all the time. You'll have people call you up. I had one woman, 4.5 years of pain in her neck. Nothing would relieve it. Been to chiropractors, physical therapists, massage therapists, acupuncturists. So someone says, well, why don't you try kinesiology? She finds me on the internet, and we end up doing one session. She called me back 5 days later. She said, wow, this is the first time in 4.5 years, every morning, all day long, no neck pain. And I saw her again a few months later, still the same. Saw her a year later for a yearly tune-up. And it was so amazing. She says, I've been fine ever since. So now she's sending me clients and finding they're getting great results. So this is where you can become a master of helping people where nobody else has been helping them to really get long-standing results. Now, there are times where it will be appropriate to refer them to other health professionals. In fact, I have a team of doctors I'm always working with as well, just to keep making sure my health is in good order. But I see a kinesiologist at least once a week myself. I'm also going to massage therapists. I was a massage therapist at one time. That is how I actually got into this. I was working in a chiropractor's office where then they were going off to see Goodheart and said, would you like to go along? And I said, sure would. And my massage practice grew exponentially, at least 3 times within a year. I had 3 times more business. So it makes you more successful financially, as well as what it's all about is making a difference in people's lives. Open my heart to you to give you all the guidance I can to become a master kinesiologist if you want to join me in these courses. So until then, I wish you well, and be blessed and be balanced.